Incredible rescue, single dad saves girl from bridge discover her surprising life-changing story. As the cold autumn air nipped at his cheeks, Jake felt a familiar tension in his chest. He was already feeling the weight of the afternoon ahead. Today marked another soccer practice for his son, Ethan. But as he unraveled the thoughts of how to juggle the end of his shift at the garage and an impending bill that loomed over him like dark clouds, his eyes fell on the old, rusted bridge just ahead. There she was, a girl, no older than 12, teetering dangerously close to the edge. Mia. Something about her hesitant posture, her thin frame outlined against the fading light, made Jake's heart race for reasons beyond fear. The image of his late wife cut through the clutter of his mind. What would she want me to do? Those clear blue eyes filled with laughter and light flickered before him. He hesitated. Was this his calling, or just another burden on an already heavy heart? In that moment, Jake felt the conflicting rush of a paternal instinct battling with the self-doubt that clung to him like a shadow. What if he messed this up? What if she jumped? He'd already failed once, after all. He was supposed to protect his family. His world turned upside down after losing her, grasping for a semblance of stability for Ethan. He took a deep breath and wrestled with himself, unyielding currents of anxiety coursing through him. If he couldn't save her, could he even save himself? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His feet moved almost of their own accord, urging him toward the girl. With every step, memories flooded back, moments of laughter and love with his wife intertwined with the crushing reality of loneliness he faced daily. Jake's pulse quickened. Mia, he called out, trying to sound steady, but the tremor of uncertainty slipped through. What are you doing up there? She looked back, eyes wide, yet devoid of the innocence of youth, like she carried a weight that belied her age. Her story felt hidden, wrapped in layers of pain. Jake wanted desperately to connect with her, drawing on his own past experiences with grief and responsibility. If only he could reach her, but suddenly, every imagined judgment from others seeped into the space between them, making his mouth dry and his body tense. Would he be seen as a hero, or merely a man grasping for anyone who would listen while wrestling with his own demons? The chasm between his fears and his paternal urge deepened as Mia stepped further back, a perilous slip everyone could witness. There was no encore waiting beyond this moment. Would he break through the wall of his own hesitation, or would this be another chapter of regret? The moment hung pregnant with potential, poised at the edge of something monumental. Jake took another step, driven by instinct, unsure of where it would lead, perhaps to salvation, perhaps to chaos. Breathing raggedly, his heart racing with all the unanswered questions, he was at risk of losing everything once more. Jake's mind whirled as he closed the distance between himself and Mia. The cold air chilled his resolve, yet the urgency in her eyes ignited a flicker of determination within him. He couldn't afford to think about his past failures, he had to concentrate on the present. Each hesitant step felt like a tightrope act, balancing vulnerability and bravery. Mia, he said again, this time lowering his voice to a softer tone. I'm here for you. Please talk to me. She glanced back at him, her body swaying precariously. Time seemed to stretch as he observed those innocent yet burdened eyes. Jake clung to the words he wished he could offer her, understanding that beneath her silence lay a sea of unspoken thoughts, perhaps the same kind of turbulence he navigated daily. In that moment, he felt the suffocating weight of his own grief. Had he really moved on? Was the facade of strength enough to convince even himself? The guilt of having lost his wife lingered like a ghost in his heart, but perhaps this was his chance to confront that specter face to face, not just for himself, but for Mia too. Mia, I lost someone I loved too, he confessed, his voice trembling. Her name was Sarah. I know what it's like to feel lost, but jumping 1T solve anything. Trust me, it's okay to ask for help. Her gaze flickered, doubt etched across her features. For a brief moment, Jake saw his own reflection in her struggle, the boy who lost his way after the love of his life slipped through his fingers. There was a shared understanding for an instant, one that connected them across the abyss of despair. Why do you care? Mia choked out, her vulnerability crackling in the air like static electricity. You don't even know me. I don't need to know you to care, Jake countered, his heart thudding wildly in his chest. You remind me of my son, Ethan. I can't let you fall. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Doubt lingered in her eyes, but there was a flicker of something else, a glimmer of hope or perhaps a recognition of kinship. It was enough to fuel Jake's next move. He took a slower, deliberate step, anchoring himself in the moment. Despite everything haunting him, this was his chance to push through the darkness. His role as a father, as a protector, surged forward. Mia, I'm going to take one more step closer. Just hold on, okay? You're not alone in this. She blinked, her posture wavering as if considering his words. He could almost hear the internal battle in her mind, mirroring his own. With his heart racing, Jake's mind began to clear. This wasn't merely about preventing a tragedy, it was an opportunity for both of them to confront their pain. He had saved her from the brink, and maybe, just maybe, he could also save himself in the process. The wind picked up, swirling leaves around them as she took a deep breath. Jake sensed the shifting tide, a willingness to engage in a fragile dialogue. But the churning inner turmoil hovered, waiting for its moment. Mia, if you step back from that ledge, will you promise to talk to me? About whatever's troubling you? Jake said, voice low and unwavering. Her eyes met his for a moment longer, as the world around them dimmed into insignificance. What do you know about trouble? She murmured, skepticism threading through her voice. That question could cut deep. Jake felt the old scars reopening, but in that realization was a power. Every struggle had shaped him, molded his resilience like tempered steel. Tension laced the air, wrapping around them both like an invisible thread. I know enough, he replied, realizing he was about to dive into a conversation that would challenge everything he thought he understood about himself. Sometimes it just takes a little push to find a way back. The words hung between them, heavy with implications, waiting for her choice. But the ground beneath him shifted. He was teetering on the precipice of something monumental, the outcome uncertain. With every heartbeat, the question echoed in his mind, how much was he willing to reveal? And as Mia closed her eyes, contemplating the weight of his offer, Jake steeled himself for the revelation that lay ahead, one that would determine not only her fate but his own. Jake's heart hammered in his chest, each thud a reminder of the gravity of the moment. This was more than a simple rescue, this was a chance for redemption. He could almost taste the tension in the air, thick and electric, as he waited for Mia's response. Would she step back? Would she let him help? The wind howled, but the real noise filled Jake's mind, a recriminating chorus of his past choices, the haunting silence left in Sarah's absence, and the constant flickering fear that he'd fail again. Each of these echoes threatened to drown out the nascent connection he felt with Mia. You don't know what it's like to be trapped in your own mind, Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet dripping with raw emotion. You're standing there like you can understand when you have no clue. Her words struck like a slap, igniting a fire within him. Jake realized this was a moment of truth, not just for Mia, but for himself. He stood on a precipice of vulnerability that mirrored hers. You're right, he admitted, taking the opportunity to deepen their exchange. I don't know. But I've walked close enough to its edge. I know it's lonely and dark, and that can make jumping feel like an escape. But life, it can be better. He let the silence linger, hoping she would sense the sincerity weighing behind his words. Mia had to see that he was not just a stranger, but someone who could relate to her pain, someone who had the potential to understand the depths of despair as well as the possibility of surviving it. Mia hesitated, her brow furrowing as if she were battling her own demons. What if it's too late? The question hung between them, now accompanied by a tremor in her voice. "It's never too late," Jake replied with more conviction than he felt. "Every day is a chance to start over, to find your footing again. Maybe together, we can find a way to deal with whatever you're carrying." Her breath seemed to catch, and for just a moment, her guarded expression fractured. Jake seized that instant of vulnerability. "Tell me what hurts. No judgment. Just an open space where you can let it all out. Whatever it is, I'm ready to listen." Mia shifted her weight, uncertainty radiating from her, but he sensed curiosity too, a flicker of hope igniting beneath the layers of her pain. This was the pivotal moment, he could feel the tide turning. "Why does it matter to you?" she asked, a hint of skepticism lacing her voice. There it was, the challenge. Jake inhaled deeply, knowing he couldn't evade her question if he wanted to make progress. He had to confront his own motivations, to crystallize for himself the reason he was standing on this bridge, risking everything for a girl barely older than his son. "Because I can't stand by and watch someone else feel as lost as I did." It was raw, an unpolished admission, but it came from a place of truth. Mia's eyes narrowed, processing his words. He bore witness to her silent reckoning, moments of doubt etched on her face battling against the slightest glimmer of acceptance. The tension transformed, shifting from a precipice of despair to a crossroads of understanding. But what began as a rescue had morphed into something larger. Jake realized he, too, was on a journey. If he could guide Mia back from the darkness, perhaps he could navigate his path to healing as well. But this was just the beginning. Even if she stepped back from the ledge, the truth of her suffering awaited. Would she expose the demons haunting her? Would opening up allow them to face their burdens together? As Mia took a toe-curling step back from the edge, the air around them hummed with a new possibility. Jake's heart raced, knowing the real challenge was still ahead, a conversation that promised to unearth wounds, secrets, and perhaps even a shared strength. "Mia," he pressed gently, "if you step back completely, will you share your story with me? Let me understand your trouble so we can face it together." The weight of his question hung, drawing her further from the ledge but pulling them closer to the unresolved shadows. And he realized with clarity, that in understanding her pain, he could finally begin to confront his own. As she looked into his eyes, the world quieted once more, and in that charged moment, he felt the impending storm of revelations brewing, a test of their bond that could shatter or strengthen them both. Mia took a deep breath, the cool air filling her lungs as she steadied herself. She had taken a step back, yet the gravity of the moment still clung to her like a fog. Jake's sincerity washed over her, contrasting with the tumult inside. And in that fleeting silence, she felt a strange mixture of fear and hope swirl within her. "Why do you care so much?" she murmured, her voice almost breaking. The question was too raw, too laden with memories she hadn't yet shared. Jake's eyes sparkled with determination. "Because we've both faced down our own demons. You're not alone in this. You shouldn't have to bear it by yourself. You matter." His words fell like gentle rain on parched ground, awakening something in her she had buried long ago. The barriers she had built began to crack, and with that, a deep sense of vulnerability began seeping in. Why was he showing her this kindness? Why was he sharing his own wounds? Doubt surged through her, but so did a flickering fire of recognition. She longed for someone to truly see her. "You don't know if I'm worth the effort," she retorted, scoffing to mask the tremor in her voice. "Maybe not," he admitted, leaning in slightly, "but I'm willing to find out if you are." His honesty broke through the fog she had lived in for so long. It made her heart race, it filled her with an almost desperate desire to confess her truths. But confessing meant peeling back layers she had carefully wrapped around herself, exposing the traumas and fears she had managed to hide for so long. "What if I told you I don't deserve help?" she said, the words spilling out before she could pull them back. "Does anyone?" Jake challenged gently. "We all have reasons that make us feel unworthy, but that doesn't mean we're beyond saving. The real question is, are you willing to try?" Mia looked away, her gaze drifting to the horizon. She thought of the dark moments that had led her to this bridge, the dark thoughts that had clouded her judgment, making her think that ending everything could be the only escape. Would he still be there if he knew the truth? If he knew how many times she had teetered on the edge of her own existence? Things have happened, she began slowly, things I'm ashamed of. It's not just life, I've made choices that wait, he interrupted, his voice steady yet firm. This is not about shame. You're recounting a chapter of your life, not your entire story. Don't let it define you. It forms a part of who you are, but it isn't all you are. The conviction in his voice pierced through her defenses. She hesitated, caught between the impulse to share and the instinct to retreat. Jake wasn't just offering empathy, he was granting her permission to be whole again. A sudden gust of wind rattled the trees around them, mirroring the turbulence inside Mia. What if people knew? She finally asked, her voice trembling. What if they never looked at me the same way again? Jake shifted his stance, his demeanor resolute. Then screw what they think. You're the one who lived through it. You're the one who survived it. Whatever happened, you still stand here today. Mia glanced back at him, recognition dawning. He had chosen the path of confrontation, one she herself had avoided for far too long. What did it mean to truly overcome? Did the past always have to haunt her? I don't know if I can, she started, but the words fell away as a new realization ignited. Maybe sharing her scars wouldn't weaken her but empower her instead. Let's take it in pieces, Jake urged, sensing her internal struggle. Whatever you feel comfortable sharing, just know that I am here. As hope surreptitiously began to weave itself back into her spirit, Mia realized they were on the brink of transformation, not merely as individuals but together. The weight of her burdens felt a little lighter, yet doubt still lingered. Would she truly be brave enough to delve into the past she had avoided? As she prepared to share the first piece of herself, the realization struck her, this wasn't just about confession, it was an opportunity for Jason as well. If she could embrace her truth, perhaps that would nudge him closer to confronting his own that charged silence. She opened her mouth to begin, uncertain yet ready as the shadows of her past loomed over them. Just then, a siren wailed in the distance, breaking their moment and reminding them of the world pressing in around them. Would they rise to face it together? As she looked back at Jake, the realization simmered in her mind. This was only the start of a journey she had been avoiding, a chance to help not only herself but him too. What secrets did he hold that mirrored her own? Mia felt the stirrings of her heart as she shifted her weight, feeling the jagged remnants of fear and admiration collide within her. Those seconds stretched, punctuated only by the fading siren that reminded her of unfinished business, both inside and out. She took a breath, contemplating the weight of Jake's unwavering gaze. Okay, she whispered, her voice barely audible. She looked down, desperate not to waver under his scrutiny, uncertain yet tethered to the moment. Maybe just a little. I'll start small. The words felt precarious, like standing on the edge of that bridge all over again. But as she slowly pulled the memories from the recesses of her mind, a flicker of courage sparked within her. This was her story, her truth. Jake had given her that sliver of authority, and she wanted more than anything to reclaim it. I used to be someone different, she began, the realization that she was finally breaking the silence ringing loudly in her ears. Before the pain became a part of me. Jake tilted his head, encouraging her without interrupting. His unwavering presence sent a small wave of warmth over her. I was a go-getter, ambitious. I think everyone expected me to conquer the world. She gave a half-hearted chuckle, but it was laced with bitterness. Then something happened. Life happened. I made choices, but I didn't know they would weigh down my spirit. The historical outline felt weak against the present's urgency. Her mind raced. Would he judge her? Would he walk away if she revealed the depths of her failures? Each word she spoke freed a portion of her truth, yet it also rooted her deeper in vulnerability. She allowed herself to brush against the painful edges of her past. After the breakup, everything spiraled. It was easier to drown in distractions, to pretend that I didn't feel at all losing my job, my friends. She paused, swallowing hard. Most of my family they distanced themselves. I didn't know how to navigate it. With each revelation, Mia could feel layers peeling away. It was both terrifying and liberating. The shame that had clung so tightly began to loosen its grip, and she glanced at Jake, searching for truth in his eyes. Did he see a broken woman? Or did he see the pieces slowly coming together? What if they knew? She repeated, echoing the doubts she had earlier voiced. What if I never regain that respect again? Jake shook his head but chose his words carefully. Does their view of you define who you are? If you were to take a step back and observe, would you agree with how they see you? His perspective ignited something deep within her. She considered the significance of shifting the narrative. No, I suppose not, she replied, her tone gaining strength. But it still hurts, you know. To think they might see only my mistakes. Then give them something else to see, he responded firmly, his articulation offering a mechanism for resistance. Show them the woman you're becoming, the one who is battling back. You've already survived so much, Mia. As the words washed over her, she felt a surge of empowerment. Maybe she was still in the midst of a struggle, yet there was a fighting spirit awakening within her. Inspired by that realization, Mia decided to take another step forward. I want to learn how to be whole again, she stated firmly. Not just for them but for me. I want to know what it feels like to rise above self-doubt, to be my own ally. Jake smiled, a genuine connection sparking between them. That's it. That's where you start. Healthy self-compassion can be your strongest ally. Your history doesn't erase your potential. Gratitude bloomed alongside determination in her chest. Perhaps uncovering these phases of her life was part of this journey. It was an unveiling of strength, not just vulnerability, and if she could confront her truth, then maybe Jake could face his. As the light faded over the horizon, Mia felt the shift inside her. Can we both do this together? She asked, the thought forming a frail yet powerful bond. Together. Jake echoed, his voice softening, yet resolute. Apprehension and exhilaration raced through her. They shared a goal that transcended the moment, an imminent confrontation with their pasts. The tangible connection between them had become a lifeline, but beneath the surface lay unseen forces waiting to disrupt. Mia was ready to explore her future, yet a question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. What truths remain hidden in Jake's past, and would they be ready to bear the weight together? Mia's heart raced as they stood together, the vibrant colors of the sunset overshadowing her lingering doubts. A pact had been formed not just in words, but through intention. She realized this was more than mere conversation, it was the onset of a metamorphosis. Their journey demanded action, and deep down, Mia craved to carve out a new existence, one where she was not defined by her struggles but celebrated for her courage in overcoming them. The following days felt like a whirlwind as Mia began to disentangle herself from the web of past choices that had ensnared her. She chose to reconnect with her interests, the dreams she had shelved away with little regard. Each time she carved out a moment for herself, joining a painting class, writing in her journal, or simply taking long walks, she felt a flicker of the audacity she once embodied. However, each small victory was consistently interrupted by memories that surged like waves, relentless and unforgiving. The ease with which she fell back into old patterns made her question the foundation of her renewed resolve. One afternoon, with paintbrush in hand, she paused, staring blankly at the canvas in front of her. The scattered strokes represented chaos, vibrant yet devoid of meaning, an echo of her tumultuous past. What am I really trying to express? She wondered aloud, frustration mounting. Suddenly, Jake appeared in her thoughts, his encouragement ringing in her ears. He saw potential where she perceived only fragmented remnants. The next day, inspired by their pact, Mia reached out to a few close friends she had distanced herself from. The text messages were sent with a heart racing in her chest. What if they didn't respond? As the minutes crawled, she wrestled with that familiar anxiety, questioning her worth. When replies arrived, however, she felt a rush of validation. Friends were eager to reconnect, expressing missing her presence in their lives. Each message became a thread, gently weaving her neglected relationships back together. With each interaction, she began to grasp that perhaps her perception of herself had distorted the version her friends held, one filled with warmth and shared memories, untouched by her shame. Meanwhile, Jake made strides of his own. He confessed to a few struggles during an evening walk they took together, sharing how he had been attempting to navigate the weight of his past mistakes. Mia saw the reflective look in his eyes and recognized it as a mirror of her own battles. With each shared vulnerability, their connection deepened, solidifying the foundation of a new bond based on truth. Mia's experiences and Jake's revelations intermingled, intertwining their journeys. As they met more often, they encouraged each other to explore the things that scared them. Jake joined her in the art class on a whim, the two of them sharing laughter and awkward moments while nursing their paint-stained hands. In turn, Mia agreed to accompany him to a local Father-S group, forming connections and learning that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather a means of growth. Yet, as Mia flourished, an undercurrent of uncertainty loomed heavily. She sensed Jake grappling with something deeper, a shadow that followed him but remained unspoken. Despite their burgeoning friendship, she felt the distance growing. One quiet evening in her apartment, she found herself staring at the canvas again, this time willing to embrace the struggle it depicted. Would she be strong enough to confront the shadows lurking within Jake, knowing that illuminating them could jeopardize the fragile bond they were building? As hesitation crept in, she felt a wave of determination surge through her. If she wanted to become whole again, she needed to face all aspects of her life, including Jake's secrets. Mia exhaled slowly, the flickering tension tangible in the air. It was time to unravel the next layer of their journey, and she knew it wouldn't be easy. With her heart in her throat, she made a decision. Tomorrow, she would confront Jake about his past to peel back the layers and see how they both could emerge stronger, together. What truths might Jake reveal, and would they hold the power to reshape not only their connection but also the path ahead? The morning arrived with a palpable tension that hung in the air like an approaching storm. Mia awoke with resolve, dressed in a carefully chosen outfit that reflected her intent, one that balanced her desire for comfort with a hint of confidence. As she stepped outside, each footfall served as a reminder of the determination she had promised herself the night before. Today would be a day of unraveling, a day for confrontation, not just with Jake but with her own fears. The cafe was a familiar haunt, cozy and unpretentious, with soft murmurs of conversation surrounding the clinking of ceramic mugs. Mia arrived early, her heart racing, not from the previous uncertainty but from the expectation of transformation. She occupied a corner table, fidgeting with her coffee while rehearsing the words that swirled in her mind, each syllable a step toward truth. When Jake entered, the sunlight streamed behind him, momentarily illuminating his figure. He seemed lighter somehow, more at ease than the last time she had seen him. But as their eyes met, Mia noticed a flicker of apprehension cross his face, one that mirrored her own. "Hey," he said, settling into the chair across from her. His smile seemed genuine but veiled, a subtle mask that hinted at deeper concerns. "Hey," she echoed, noting how her pulse quickened again, but this time with intent. She took a breath, anchoring herself to the moment. "Can we talk about, well, everything?" His brow furrowed, yet he nodded. "Yeah, I think it's time." The tension in his voice surged, revealing an unspoken acknowledgement between them. As they spoke, Mia's words flowed freely, her vulnerability shining through as she shared her journey of rediscovery. She spoke of painting and reconnecting with friends, pressing forward where once there had been retreat. She wanted him to understand that she saw the potential for a brighter future, not defined by their pasts. Yet, even as she shared, a shadow of doubt loomed over her. What if she was only peeling back layers without preparation for what lay beneath? Jake listened intently, his expression shifting from curiosity to introspection. But the deeper she plunged into her story, the more he seemed to withdraw. Eventually, Mia realized that although she had opened her heart, Jake remained a fortress of unspoken thoughts. "Now it's your turn," she urged gently, a mixture of encouragement and challenge in her voice. "What's weighing you down, Jake? I want to understand." As the silence stretched, she could practically hear his internal battle. "Things don't just vanish, Mia," he finally muttered, the sheen of vulnerability breaking the surface. "What do you mean?" "I've done things, choices that paint me in a different light," he confessed, his eyes darkening. "Things that I'm not proud of." Mia felt a chill creep over her skin. She wasn't prepared for this. A part of her wanted to retreat, to return to safer, less complicated topics. But another part, a deeper, more urgent side, recognized the significance of this moment. Would she allow his fears to forge a bond or allow her own to hold her back? What could be worse than what we've already shared? She pressed, her voice steady, determined not to flinch. Jake shifted uncomfortably. "I struggle with guilt. With the people I've hurt," he replied, his voice lowered. "It's hard to see past the mistakes." Mia felt a rush of empathy mixed with trepidation. Here, in this unguarded space, she discerned the gravity of Jake's revelations. They echoed her own insecurities. "What if we both embrace our pasts, rather than letting them hinder us?" she challenged gently. "We deserve to move forward." As he searched her eyes, she recognized a flicker of hope, but it was quickly shrouded by doubt. The conversation was a dance of carefully articulated truths wrapped in the bond of shared struggle. But at that very moment, a siren wailed outside, interrupting their connection and sending an uneasy ripple through both of them. Jake's expression faltered, a flicker of panic nestled within the depths of his gaze. They both sensed that something monumental was shifting, but the unanswered question lingered in the air: would their journey of unveiling lead them to liberation, or would it instead entrap them in a cycle of regret? As Mia stared at Jake, the realization dawned upon her: they were on the precipice of transformation, yet unprepared for the unfurling chaos that might follow. "Let's dig deeper," she proposed, feeling the weight portending both danger and promise. Together. But the clarity of that moment would soon be tested, and Mia could feel the world around them crackling with impending revelations. What else lurked in the shadows of Jake's past, and how would it ultimately shape their evolving journey? As the siren faded into the distance, the air within the cafe thickened, heavy with unspoken truths. Mia felt her heartbeat echoing in her ears, each thud underscoring the fragility of their moment. A surge of determination coursed through her veins. This was no longer merely about confronting Jake, this was about confronting herself. "Jake, what if these past choices, yours and mine, are just pieces of a bigger puzzle?" Mia's voice wavered slightly but held tight. "What if instead of running from them, we face them head-on?" Jake's expression betrayed a storm of emotions. She could see the muscles in his jaw tighten, the way his hands clenched the table's edge. He had built walls, and they were fortified by guilt and regret. Mia realized that the more she merited understanding from him, the more she needed to first extend the same understanding to herself. "It's not just about us," she continued softly. "It's about recognizing how we've changed, how we've grown. We can choose to rise above, can't we?" For the first time, Jake's eyes softened, a fleeting moment, but enough for Mia to catch the glimmer of recognition. "Maybe," he murmured, his voice almost a whisper, laden with hope and hesitation alike. Mia pondered his response, an ember of resolve igniting within her. She had spent the past months grasping for a sense of control, carving her own path through creativity and community, yet this confrontation felt like the ultimate test. She was spiraling into a difficult realization: vulnerability was not a weakness but rather a gateway to genuine connection. As she met Jake's gaze, she saw shadows of her past reflected in his expressions: battles fought and scars worn as badges of honor. "Everything has a consequence," she said, her tone solidifying. "But it doesn't have to define us. We can learn from it. Find strength in it." Jake exhaled sharply. "Strength? You think I'm strong?" His incredulity shocked Mia. "You see me as someone worth redeeming?" Mia could hear the skepticism seep into his words, but the challenge ignited a fire within her. Absolutely, she declared. Just as I'm learning to see myself as worthy of healing and growth. The unexpected boldness in her voice seemed to provide instantaneous clarity. The surrounding cafe faded into the background as two souls confronted their realities, compelled to face the residues of their pasts, but as Mia pushed her narrative forward with relentless determination, Jake's unease loomed large. He shifted uneasily in his chair, distantly troubled by shadows that swirled like darkness from the corners of his mind. What if facing these things destroys us? Or what if facing them sets us free? Mia countered. It's a risk, but I'm willing to take it. For a moment, the possibility hung between them like a fragile thread, vulnerable yet potent. Reflecting together on their darker wavelengths, Mia sensed that boundless futures awaited expansion if they both found the courage to leap into the unknown. Suddenly, an idea struck her, an avenue of healing that tied intimately with the artistic resurgence she had embraced. What if we transform our pasts into our art? Paint the shadows and the light. Write stories, poetry, whatever resonates. We can reclaim our narratives. Jake studied her, disbelief flaring into something akin to curiosity. You actually think that could help? Mia nodded firmly, feeling the shift in his posture as it softened. An unanticipated glow flickered within her, illuminating the essence of authentic connection. Let us make this our pact. A commitment, not just to ourselves, but to each other, she proposed, her heart racing. We both deserve to express ourselves and realize that we are more than our mistakes. Just as the words slid from her lips, and Jake nodded in tentative agreement, the cafe door swung open violently, the chilly wind rushing in with it, as if heralding fresh turmoil. A figure stood at the entrance, silhouetted against the bright daylight, catching the attention of everyone present. Mia's stomach nodded. Was this another layer of conflict to confront? In that moment, she understood their journey's gravity had barely begun. They were on the brink not just of revelation but potential upheaval. What now? She whispered, tension knotting her earlier resolve. What more could emerge from the chaos that awaited? The figure stepped into the cafe, and Mia braced herself, suddenly aware that her journey was far from over. Something profound was about to unfold. Mia's heart raced as the figure emerged from the shadows of the cafe entrance. She took a deep breath, mentally preparing herself for whatever unfolded next. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed against the tile floor, commanding attention from patrons who exchanged anxious glances. The figure turned, revealing a woman in her late 20s, her hair disheveled yet vibrant, as if the wind had been tousling it for hours. Mia squinted, trying to read the emotions etched on the woman's face. Was it fear? Urgency? Or a mixture of desperation and hope? Help, the woman gasped, collapsing onto a nearby table. Hot, angry tears streamed down her cheeks as she clutched a phone to her chest. My sister, she's in trouble. We were out on the bridge, and she fell. Cold dread settled in Mia's stomach, a stark contrast to the warmth of her previous conversation with Jake. Instinctively, she looked at him. His expression mirrored hers, an urgent acknowledgement that their safely contained world was now fracturing. The past few moments had sparked a glimmer of accountability, but this was a stark reminder of how quickly things could unravel. What can we do? What bridge? Jake's voice cut through the tension, stepping up as a beacon of resolve. Mia was surprised by how swiftly he shifted from uncertainty to action, a reflection of his competitive spirit. It sparked something within her too, a feeling of responsibility and readiness to help amid chaos. The woman, frantic and barely able to speak, managed to utter a few more words before her breath hitched. The old bridge downtown. Please, my sister, she's scared. I need to get there. I can't lose her. Jake and Mia exchanged determined glances, a quiet affirmation that they were in this together. This was a pivotal moment. It was no longer just about their personal struggles but now held the potential to bring a stranger hope in the face of despair. Let us go, Mia urged, feeling the surge of adrenaline tighten her resolve. If we hurry, we might be able to reach her in time. As they raced out of the cafe, a wave of anxiety washed over Mia. She had felt empowered just moments ago in her conversation with Jake, discovering the strength of vulnerability. Now, however, her fears resurfaced, lurking just beneath the surface. What if they were too late? What if they couldn't help? Each step toward the bridge was like a pendulum swinging between desperation and courage. Her mind raced with questions about her capacity to confront this sudden crisis. Would the newfound commitment to transform their pain into art hold any weight against real-life turmoil? Jake sprinted ahead, but Mia held back. She needed a moment to ground herself in the storm of thoughts that whirled inside her. What if art wasn't merely a means of expression but a conduit for action? The idea settled in like a calm amidst the tempest. Mia realized perhaps this mission could stand as a reflection of their own journeys. They could take their struggles and translate them into real support for someone else. The power of creativity could manifest in countless forms, not just on canvas but in tangible, life-changing efforts. With newfound determination, she picked up her pace, catching up with Jake just as they reached the edge of the bridge. As they caught sight of the towering structure looming over murky waters, apprehension mingled with the urgency to act. "Stay focused," Jake instructed, looking at her with clear intent. "We'll find her. We have to." As they navigated the bridge's gritty path, Mia felt her fear ebb, replaced instead by a burgeoning sense of purpose. But the question lingered, would they be able to perform the incredible feat of saving a life today? That thought propelled them forward as they rounded the final turn, adrenaline spiking higher with every step. What awaited them on that bridge could either shatter their resolve or forge their connection, testing the very depths of their courage. But Mia understood there was no turning back now. They were on the brink of both a physical and emotional transformation, facing a reality that demanded action, and perhaps, it would reveal the truest versions of themselves yet. As they approached the bridge's precipice, the shape of another figure came into view, and Mia's heart dropped. What if the real confrontation lay ahead, far beyond what she anticipated? Would they emerge victorious or break again? The air shimmered with uncertainty as they stepped closer to the unknown. As they reached the edge of the bridge, the chaotic sounds of the city faded into a muffled hush that enveloped them. Jake's heart raced, fueled by the urgent need to act, but a peculiar calm washed over Mia. She stood resolute, focused on each step forward, no longer weighed down by uncertainty. This was not just about confronting their personal struggles, this felt like their moment to truly make a difference. Ahead, the crumbling bridge cast an eerie shadow against the dimming light. Even as adrenaline surged through their veins, both felt the gravity of the situation settle over them like a heavy blanket. Mia noticed the dark silhouette of a young girl, trembling dangerously close to the edge. Instinctively, she grabbed Jake's arm, drawing strength from his presence. "Mia, stay close to me," Jake murmured, stepping forward as if to shield her from the storm brewing around them. There was no room for hesitation now. Every fear they had faced before felt trivial in the face of this girl's life hanging in the balance. "We can help her," Mia said, her voice even, gaining momentum. In that moment, she no longer felt like someone just grasping for redemption, she was resolute in her purpose. As they inched closer, the girl's frightened gaze met theirs, wide and filled with despair. Jake called out, "Hey! It's okay, we're here to help you." His voice rang out with authority, piercing through the chaos of their emotions. The girl turned, a flicker of acknowledgement mingling with fright. Mia stepped forward, her heart pounding yet alive with purpose. "Please, don't step back," she begged softly, putting her hands up to show she was no threat. "We want to listen. You don't have to go through this alone." The girl's breath came in short gasps, and for an instant, Mia caught a glimpse of her own past, a reflection of those dark moments when she felt lost and unheard. I just don't know what else to do," the girl stammered, her voice trembling. "Everything feels overwhelming." Mia took a deep breath, extending her hand in a gesture of support. "You can come back, I promise. Things can get better. Just talk to us." The words tumbled from her lips, but they were steeped in truth. This was her moment to stand firm in her own growth and, in doing so, offer guidance to another lost soul. Jake remained beside her, mirroring her strength as a united front, a standing pillar that encouraged the girl to reconsider her choice. Slowly, the girl turned, uncertainty flickering through her eyes as she took a tentative step back from the edge. Relief washed over Mia as she recognized they were making headway. "I felt forgotten, like no one understood," the girl admitted, and Mia felt the weight of her pain resonate deeply. "I know how that feels," Mia responded sincerely, her voice unwavering. "But there's always a path forward, even if it's not visible now. You're not alone in this." Before long, the girl stepped back completely, tears spilling down her cheeks as she collapsed into Jake's awaiting arms. They enveloped her in warmth, shielding her from the fears that had nearly claimed her. In that moment, Mia realized that she had found her own salvation through the act of connection. The pieces of her fragmented past began to mend. She had not just embraced her challenges but transformed them into courage not only for herself but for someone in need. Jake glanced at her, the softening of his features signaling an understanding that transcended their individual struggles. It was affirming a testament that they had risen through darkness together, ready to redefine what their pasts had once meant. Not long after, the distant sound of sirens echoed as professionals arrived, drawn by the frantic calls made by the girl's sister. Jake and Mia collapsed on a nearby bench, watching the scene unfold, a life saved through their collective strength. A warmth spread through Mia's chest. She had done more than just confront her fears, she had become a leader, a protector, and a testament to the power of vulnerability. As the girl received the support she needed, Mia turned to Jake. "We did it," she breathed, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and relief. "For her, for us." Jake's expression mirrored hers, filled with recognition. The weight of his past didn't diminish his worth. Instead, it paved the way for growth and connection. The shadows that had long encased them began to dissolve in the light of their triumph, and a newfound bond emerged. It was in this sacred understanding that Mia grasped her undeniable personal achievement. She had transformed. No longer the girl who hid from her demons, she was now a warrior in her own right, embracing the narrative arc with courage, validating her worth, establishing a foundation of hope, and demonstrating the transformative power of vulnerability. Together, Jake stated softly, a knowing spark igniting in his gaze. They had faced down the darkness not just for themselves but for others, and in doing so, they had reclaimed their paths. This was only the beginning of their journey, but it marked a peaceful resolution, a point in time where their souls had grown strong enough to conquer whatever challenges lay ahead. They understood that through their individual transformations lay the light that could guide countless others, a shared torch illuminating the way forward. It was affirmed, they had achieved not only personal victory but a profound connection, the kind that would echo in both their lives for a long time to come. Now, step into the next phase of your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.